welcome you all panelists. It was quite interesting presentations on the green refrigerants, flammability, awareness issues, and other things. So it's an open and general question. What factors are affecting adoption of low GWP refrigerants or green refrigerants? For example, like high cost maybe there or consumer preferences. So to start with, I would ask Mr. Anil.
Industrial refrigeration is concerned, there are no hurdles actually to use of natural refrigerant or low GWP refrigerant.
Right.
In case of other applications, there is a need for development of equipments for smaller capacity and the low charge system which is already going in. But main hurdle is the people's mind, where we need to see that how we are changing people's mind, and that's what is the main thing. We are using flammable equipment at our house, but we are continue to use it. But when it comes to refrigerant, then why there is a problem? There is a that's why what I see is it's the problem is in the mind, not in the any other case.
Thank you, Mr. Anil, for sharing your thoughts. What are your views, Mr. Manjeet?
Thanks so much. And I think it's a great discussion, and I congratulate all the speakers. I think there was a really technical aspects being highlighted. I'm more from the policy side and the climate research and those aspects. Because of my experience earlier with Government of India, then TERI, and then UNEP. So I just want to answer maybe from that perspective and add on a few points which our speakers have spoken. First of all, I think we have to start looking this problem from the overall cooling sector perspective rather than now only thinking for the refrigerants, because now it's no more of a refrigerant debate. Now it became a climate change debate, which we have to look at from the sectoral approach. And cooling is one of the sector which is growing up massively in developing countries. And I have to say that it's a transitional development trajectory for any country or any society, where first you have the roti kapda makan aspect, then the homes, electricity, that, and then you go for the comfortable appliances and those things. And now India is at the tipping points to go for a massive increase. And you can see I was part of the India Cooling Action Plan also, and you can see there has been some analysis. There was a paper also some time back where the analysis was how the refrigerants emissions are going to be in future. And there was a baselining being done that in 2020 it was around 20 million tons of CO2 equivalent. And why this CO2 equivalent? Because as I think Orgo was mentioning about the Kigali Amendment, now the indicator for refrigerant phase down is being transitioned from the ODP to the CO2 emissions. So the paper was highlighting that, and it is expected that by 2050 it is going to reach 197 million tons of CO2 equivalent, which is almost 9 times increase in next 30 years. So I think needless to say that we have to focus on that. But coming back to your question very briefly, the challenges are for adapting low GWP refrigerant is there are still several sectors which doesn't have tested alternatives. That is the one of the challenge. Now maybe some countries might say that they have a good alternative, but there is a challenge that whether that has been tested in the local context or not. I have to say that there is a need for technologies which are being tested in the high ambient temperature countries, and India is one of them, particularly the Middle East also, and Southeast Asian countries. So I would say there is a challenge of available alternatives. Then the other aspect is pilotable business models which are being tested, which can make them commercially viable and like address the some of the aspects which Mr. Anil was mentioning about high upfront cost and other things. So that's one of the challenge. I think I have to say that now the alternatives shouldn't be looked at from the refrigerant perspective. They should be looked from the whole system aspect, which is like, the equipment efficiency and the new refrigerants, because the Kigali's amendment is talking about the energy efficiency, and also the debate has become for the emissions, which is like, refrigerant is, if I'm not wrong, it's for a whole equipment life cycle emissions, it's 10 to 15%, and the 85% is the energy efficiency and energy related indirect emissions. So that's the other aspect. And the one point I also want to highlight is this: there is a debate on the safety aspect of the natural refrigerants. My point would be on, we shouldn't be focusing on identifying one solutions, rather than we should have a combination of solutions from the both side, the natural plus the halogenated, and there are options available in some sectors. But there is a need also for at the local level setting up of the standards. There may be standards available internationally, but there is a challenge of the local standards. That's other thing. And one of my personal like insistence would be on, we should look for transitioning for the equipment which are having large lifespan, like 40 years, 50 years. Because if you install something which is for 50 years today with a non-low GWP refrigerant, I think then again you have to wait for more time. And as per Kigali amendment, that needs to go in next 25 years. You have to phase down again the refrigerant which you use. So that's, I think I have to say the challenge related to new GWP refrigerants, new low GWP technologies. And last point I want to mention is the good part and the challenge also. Till now, India's refrigerant consumption used to be focused on certain sectors, like one or two sectors, and which is mostly the room air conditioners and the chillers and the transport air conditioning. But as country is growing, people are preferring for the processed food, so the supermarket aspect is coming up. Government is pushing for the reducing food loss, so the cold storage system is coming up. Then the buildings insulation is driving the demand for the foam insulation. I think there will be a diversification of the refrigerant demand, and that would put the challenge, but also would provide the opportunity to, I think, look for the intersectoral flexibility of the technological use. So thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Manjit, for providing the insights. Definitely, there is a need for alternative refrigerants for different sectors and diverse sectors. Mr. Ghosh, what would you like to add?
I think I completely agree with Mr. Manjeet that we need to diversify, as per the sector and as per the application. Uh, you see, previously when refrigerants, 20, 30 years back, when equipment systems were designed, refrigerants were selected based on safety, durability, economic. These were the parameters that were taken. Now with the Montreal Protocol and now the Kigali Agreement, the environment aspect has become the most important aspect. When you talk of alternatives, I don't really know whether there is one size fits all kind of a refrigerant. Not yet. So you may have a refrigerant which is a synthesized refrigerant, which gives you an alternative to this current, hydrofluorocarbons which have high GWP. But as yet we don't have, and the naturally occurring refrigerants like ammonia or methane, ethane, or propane or isobutane. Mr. Madi Sakande talked about isobutane, where there were accidents. I think these possess a lot of hazards, which is why these have not been adopted typically into commercial or residential air conditioning system. I'm not very sure whether we have an answer to this yet, but we have some time. As per the Kigali Agreement, till 2050, we can reduce the usage of these GWP contributing substances, and in fact, there is a bit of leeway for countries like India, because there is a clause which states that any country which has more than 35 degree of ambient temperature for 2 months in a year can apply for slightly more extension of that 2050, line where we need to phase out these substances. So we have some time till that, and as Mr. Anil said, that it is also a matter of mindset. We have to maybe talk of refrigerants with low GWP, without you know compromising on the other parameters, which I said were primarily cost and durability and sustainability. So it's a matter of mindset. When we launched R32 refrigerant in 2012 in India, there was a lot of apprehension again amongst the dealers, amongst the competition, amongst all the stakeholders and customers. And what we did differently, I think, is what I think Madi Sakande was also trying to say, was training. So we made sure that all our technicians were trained on this new refrigerant, because it was mildly flammable, A2L category. So under what conditions, what are the refrigerant charging pressure, all those trainings we gave to our technicians, and as well as not only competition, we also trained our competitors. So we had people from Blue Star, from Voltas and other companies coming to our centers and seeing how we are producing those air conditioners with R32 refrigerant, and how those are being installed in homes. So training forms again a very important part when we talk of striking a midway between ecologically substantiated refrigerants, and also refrigerants which are economic and stable.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ghosh. Mr. Anil, you want to add something?
Yes, I want to add further that if you see industrial refrigeration sector, it has two categories. It can be categorized in two ways. One is the organized sector, and another is unorganized sector. Organized sector means what? They believe in properly designed, installed, commissioned, conceptualize refrigeration system as per the standards, norms, and procedures followed. But that part, I think, based on my experience, is not more than 10%. The 90% part is of unorganized sector, where the design installation is not as per any standard. It is based on the individual experience, and basically what we need is to shift from unorganized sector to an organized sector. How we can do that is by adopting the standard what India has developed. So if we go as per the standard, we have to start with properly designed, engineered system. That's what is the need of the hour today.
Yes, designing the system is the need of the hour. Yes, Mr. Manjeet.
Yeah, just quickly one point. I think Argo was mentioning about something on the timelines for the transition, but I think I have to say I would like to highlight here that we are really running short of time on the emission timelines, and how much the flexibility we have to be under 1.5 degree temperature. So I think accelerated transition would be the best case, and also industry can have a lead in that to move towards low GWP refrigerants. That's the best case, I would say. Again, I have to say that there is a business case in it, because what India does is not only that it stays in India nowadays. In future, there is going to be a large export market, and what's going to be tested and piloted and adopted in India may have implications on other economies, and that could be an even multiplier of the benefits, I have to say. So just wanted to highlight. Thanks.
Thank you very much for adding those valuable points. Now, I would ask Mr. Madi to give the closing statement for the session. You talked about flammability concerns and trainings and other things.
Thank you so much. Meanwhile, I was chatting with institution. Is very important regarding what I said. I sure talking about the experiences we have in Africa, and I'm even talking about what's happened 3 days ago, 2 days Sunday in Zambia, where two people still. The issue is never and will never be the refrigerants. Have Mr. Gulanikar said, is the mindset, is the human being with the issue. And we need to let him know what is the real danger he is facing. Because when you say the small freezer cannot cause a damage because you are not aware about how mishandling of even the small appliances has a home refrigerator, place it in the small place at home. When the technician is not aware, he has no training and not equipment, even a scale to judge the quantity of a refrigerant he is putting in the freezer. And then there is a leakage, and this refrigerant finish in the volume, the small volume, and he is keeping additional refrigerant. It transforms the place in explosive area because we need just a small spark to make the explosion. And this is very important. It is important for everyone to know that flammable refrigerant is not the refrigerant the problem, but the problem is the awareness of the technician and the end users too. So we need to see this matter, because when we talk about cars, driving cars, you need a license. If you are to cook, you are using also the flammable refrigerant to cook. But everyone is aware, even a child is aware that a fire can burn him. But the refrigerant is a new challenge. And this is the reason why we need to share the challenge, to share with everyone the matter of the flammability. I will stop here. I thank you for this opportunity. I hope you, as also a journalist, a magazine, share it as much as possible with your colleagues, because it's important to communicate. It's very important for not only for the media specialized in our sector. Even in mainstream media, they need to know, they need to talk on TV, they need to talk in newspaper, wherever we have to talk about, not against, but just to raise the awareness is very important. Let's make a world campaign to raise the awareness, not to stop the use of this equipment, but to mitigate the deaths we are causing. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Madi. Mr. Ghosh, what you have to say about the sustainability, and give us the closing statement first.
Yeah, thank you. I think Mr. Manjeet did say that we are running short of time as far as reducing the global warming emissions is concerned. As you need to understand that there is an economic aspect, and as he rightly pointed out, that now India is being seen not only as a manufacturing hub but also as an export hub. Daikin, for an example, we are exporting to around 20 countries, amongst which around 14 of them are African countries. So, while there are alternatives which are more sustainable climate-wise, we have, as I said, HFOs which have significantly lesser global warming potential. However, in adopting them into mainstream air conditioning, you need very major changes in your compressor in terms of the compressor size or the rotation capacity, which again means incurring high costs. So somehow I will end by what Mr. Anil, Mr. Manjit, and Mr. Madi have been saying. I am of the same opinion that we need to have the mindset in adopting a middle way and ensuring how we can raise the awareness, so that even if we are using slightly more inflammable refrigerants, how do we mitigate the risk? So, with that, thank you so much for this.
Definitely, Mr. Ghosh. We have to raise the awareness. Mr. Anil, we would like to listen from you.
Yeah, it was a very nice discussion what we had. And for closing this, what I can say is firstly, what I've said about mindset. Secondly, what I've said about properly design and engineering system. And one thing I would like to highlight here is as far as natural refrigerant ammonia is concerned, in everything, world class equipments are manufactured in India, and we can completely install, design any world class ammonia refrigeration system in India with all make in India products. So everything is available here. Only thing is it should be used by our own people. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anil. Mr. Manjit, coming to you. So give us a closing statement and also tell us what technology advancements are there to contain the flammability concern.
Thanks so much. I think it was a great discussion. I think still I have to highlight that we have to look for the international cooperation for some of these aspects. And why I'm saying that there is a need for documentation of the technological piloting and the technological advancement. I know the Ozone Secretariat, Montreal Protocol, Ozone Action colleagues at UNEP, and they have been doing it, the documentation, but still maybe the local contextualized documentation of case studies, best practices perhaps needed to replicate in other society, other economies. So the international cooperation on the knowledge exchange, I would say it's quite important. There has been, like, in transport sector, there is a R1234YF, which is a good option available, but also there has been testing of the CO2 as a system, as a refrigerant in the system. So there are different technological advancement happening, but I would say still there is a challenge of locally contextualized, customized approach of using any refrigerant in some aspects. So it's good to use that and build the solution for a different region or maybe country. So that's the one point. The second point is the upfront cost question is coming up again and again. And I being from outside industry, I think because we can't be only dependent upon that people would, on the moral question, they would come up and adopt the low GWP technologies and other things, or only with the information. I think there is a gap in between, which is like, combination of all the stakeholders and develop a business model. And in India's case, the best thing is we can leverage our economy of scale, which is like when we need air conditioner, we need every year 10, 20, 30 lakhs kind of things. It's not like a small market, and also the export case. So maybe the best way to also bring together the utilities, then the industries, then the government, also international development partners or the development banks, and the refrigerant manufacturers and other things to aggregate the demand and then push for the new technologies, maybe at the and it would bring down the cost. You can see the LED technology in India. It's like in 3 years, the 80% cost brought down. Same could be done for some of these technologies. So that's what my closing remarks. And I would like to congratulate Thermal Control Magazine. Darshana, thanks, and Gopal Krishnji, thanks so much. And I have been following the Cooling India magazine, which you have been working. So congratulations for your illustrious career in this sector.
Thank you very much, Mr. Manjit. It was very interesting discussion and interactions.